All right, we have a quorum. I will call this Monday, April 21st, 2025 Airway Heights City Council Legislative Session to order at 5:30 PM. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And a reminder of our council promises to be open and honest. Roll call, please, Mr. Schubert.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. We'll start with Chair Bowman, Vice Chair Perry,
Present.
Councilmember Beinecker. Here. Councilmember Ritchie. Councilmember Malay.
Present.
And Councilmember Morton.
Present.
Thank you. Let the record show we have the following staff in attendance. We have City Manager Albert Tripp, City Attorney Daniel Gibbons, Police Chief Brett Richmond, Planning Director Heather Troutman, Associate Planner Zachary Becker, Park and Recs Director J.C. Kennedy, and Clerk Treasurer Stanley Schubert. That concludes the roll call.
All right, thank you. What is the council's desire on the absences of Chair Bowman and Mr. Ritchie?
Move to excuse.
I have a first by Mr. Beinecker. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Malay. All those in favor of excusing the absences? That passes 4-0. Next, agenda approval. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no proposed changes.
Council, do I have a desire on the presented agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
I have a first by Mr. Malay. First by Mr. Beinecker, second by Mr. Malay. All those in favor?
I apologize. I should have mentioned this. There's a typo in the agenda. It refers to the minutes being from March rather than April. So I just wanted to point that out.
Change noted. And agenda passes 4-0. No announcements or presentations. Council reports.
No report.
All right. For me, staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll start with City Attorney Gibbons. Do you have any report for council?
No report. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Richmond, any report?
Yes, Mr. Chief and Council, just wanted to again thank our public for the public safety levy. We swore in another officer this last Friday, Atticus Patterson, and he started with our team. And so we're happy to have all but our last one. And we're in the process of hiring our last officer that was afforded to us by our public. Again, thanking our public for those opportunities and service, and we appreciate it, and we're continuing to move forward.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Tripp, do you have any report for council?
None this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Troutman, any report for council?
Thank you. Just a reminder that there's still a chance to sign up for the listening session with our consultant Sage Step. This is a community listen session. This is virtual to make it easier to attend. It's tomorrow. The information is available on our website. And this is to hear a little bit about climate resiliency. So basically, when we're faced with drought, extreme cold, extreme heat, and other impacts to our community, how well prepared are we to support our community and recover from that? So if they're interested in signing up, the information is again on the City of Airway Heights website, which is www.cawh.org. It's virtually available to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Troutman. Mr. Becker, any report?
No report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, any report for council?
I have no report. Thank you.
I just want to make thank council for the opportunity to hire a payroll accountant. We identified a candidate, and she will start on May 1st. So thank you. That's the report from me, and that includes staff reports.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schubert. No call for any public hearings. Moves us on to our consent agenda. Item A, notice of award for public works standby generator. Item B1, the approval of minutes from the city council meeting on April 7th. And item B2, the approval minutes from city council study session on April 14th, with that noted change. What is the desire of council? Consent agenda. First by Mr. Malay. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Morton. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, moves us on to our first action item. Item C, interview of city council applicants. Mr. Tripp.
Thank you very much, Chair Perry. City Council, this evening, you are scheduled to interview 4 applicants who applied for the vacant positions, both the vacant position that currently exists and the one that is projected to exist here at the end. Just by way of background, I wanted to walk through some of the process that we went through over the last month and give you a synopsis of how we arrived at this particular timeframe. Before starting, I just wanted to note, you're aware that within the council rules of procedure, it provides for when a position becomes vacant, council has the ability to be able to advertise for that vacancy and then seek to fill that based upon the applicants. And if the council chooses not to do that, then that particular opportunity then moves to the Spokane County Commission to do the same. So council directed staff to publish applications for those vacancies. We issued a press release on March 19th announcing that those would be accepted. We made social media posts on April 1st, and collectively we received 7 different applications. So those applications included packets from the individuals that are contained within your packet. You'll also note that pursuant to state law, there's a specific criteria that guides when an individual can hold candidacy or hold an elected office. And so those applications were reviewed against those state law requirements, which reduced the number of applicants from 7 to the 4 that you have before you this evening. Those 4 applicants here this evening to be interviewed by you include Cassandra Quisnell, Jesse Camacho, William Franklin Campbell, and Carrie Bro. The proposed process in terms of the procedure tonight includes an interview of each of the candidates by the council. Within the notes, we said that the candidate interviewing could occur by drawing names. Candidates not being interviewed would wait outside of the council chambers, and so we have space downstairs for those individuals who are not being interviewed to sit and wait while the other candidate is being interviewed. Once you complete the interview of the respective candidate, then we would bring up the next candidate to respond to the same set of questions. As provided for in the process, each candidate has 2 minutes for closing remarks and also an opening statement at the beginning. Based on the process that's laid out tonight, there's no planned citizen comments on this particular process. Also accompanying that overview that I just described is a list of questions that's been circulated with the council, along with some opening statements for the chair and then the respective members as they step through the process. So council, at this particular juncture, I think the next step would be for the chair to move next section, and then we could start going down through the process in terms of identifying who's going to be interviewed first, second, third, and fourth, and then escorting the other 3 remaining people downstairs while that person proceeds in the process.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tripp. I suppose we should just go in order here of the list unless there's desire to change. Or do we need a motion to start with Ms. Quisnell, or can we just with her?
Okay, that's perfectly acceptable if that's agreeable with the council. And so then we would ask Mr. Jesse Camacho, Mr. Campbell, and Mr. Carrie Bro we'll escort them downstairs. And then once Cassandra finishes her interview, we'll have Jesse be brought back upstairs. And we'll just continue that particular order until we get to the last person, which is Carrie Bro. Stanley, can you show Jesse, William, and Carrie while they'll have an opportunity to sit while Cassandra is interviewed?
I guess I can do what Larry said. Okay. Oh, just go through them. all. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go in order. Okay. All right, we'll welcome Ms. Cassandra Quisnell up to the lectern. Your candidate interview is tightly scheduled. You have 15 minutes to provide an opening statement and answer one question from each council member for a total of 6 questions. Time management during the interview is up to you. You'll be evaluated based on your application materials and interview responses. If there is a pause between questions, it is because council members are taking notes. If you need a question repeated, please ask. And the council will deliberate on the list of candidates and will act on 2 final candidates May 5th. That time. Again, and welcome. Thank you for being here. And you may start with introducing yourself and your opening statement.
My name is Cassandra Quisnell. Hello, everybody. This is actually my first time being in here. I've lived in Airway Heights for 5 years. I am a single mom of 4 special needs kids out here, and I absolutely love everything about Airway Heights. My kids walk down the street, they know everybody from Mr. Tripp to just, the person who was homeless a week ago who's now staying at one of the local motels because Pastor Jacob has helped them. So Airway Heights is home.
Thank you very much. First question, why did you apply for this position and what do you hope to accomplish if you were selected? What are your thoughts for what the city can become?
Airway Heights, the first time I stepped foot in Airway Heights was in 1999. My parents rented a trailer over on 21st. And when I first came back from college and went there, it was small. It was not what it is now. And just seeing how it's changed from 99 to now, it may be small, but mighty. Airway Heights is mighty. And my goal is to help the community, to help everybody, to facilitate in making it safe, making the environment welcoming, not just a zoom through. Right now we're a part of Spokane. We're the unincorporated Spokane. We want to be Airway Heights. We want people to stop, not just drive through.
Good evening, Cassandra. Don't be nervous. So let me ask you, what do you believe is the single most compelling issue facing the city of Airway Heights?
Well, the communication, everybody tries, and we have social media and we have, different ways that everybody's reaching out. And Pleasance, I found out about the city council meetings through Pleasance, who happens to be a Girl Scout mom. I'm a troop leader out here of a neurodiverse Girl Scout troop of 18 young women, who want to make a change in their lives and in their community. And so when I learned about it, I was like, this is my chance to be able to speak up, to be able to help my girls to learn that their voice can be heard.
Okay, thank you for that answer. How do you feel about the city's approach to dealing with that issue?
I struggle with it. I myself am not super on social media, so it's not in my face. I remember when we used to, way back when you used to get the flyers in the mail. So people who didn't have access, granted everybody's gone to cell phones now. We used to have the landline calls. Hey, reminder, there's a city council meeting. We don't have that. And so making these meetings available to everybody, then those people can know, hey, I have an opportunity to have my voice heard too.
What would you like to see the city do differently?
That's a hard one for me. I don't have a whole lot of like, I guess really one of the biggest things that I tend to struggle with is, I know that, after talking to Mr. Tripp, that there's like a lot of speed bumps to go over to, for safety, road safety, sidewalk safety and such and whatnot. And I think being able to, you know, just being able to bring people in here to say, hey, with the whole thing that happened over on Sixth where they did the modifications and then everybody came to you guys. But yet that wasn't like, I didn't know anything about it. I live literally on Russell at Chandler. It doesn't affect me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect us as a whole. You know what I mean? So being able to have somebody like me and be like, oh, I heard this is going on. Maybe it'd be a great meeting for you to maybe come and, say your piece.
Can you share from, well, let me back up. Let me just say that the city council renders decisions regarding the implementation of plans, policies, and budgets that can often prove difficult. Can you share from experience a time when your perspective about something was challenged and you changed your mind?
This actually brings me to a conversation that Mr. Tripp and I had in regards to talking about some safety implementation. And one of the things that I brought up was the possibility of a sidewalk between Russell and Garfield. And I stated, because on several occasions, first of all, when you're driving west after 4 p.m., the sun is in your face. There is a couple who is wheelchair bound who takes that road now to get to Yokes, now that Yokes has moved. And he stated to me that, more often than not, the decisions are made based on, the factors of the safety of the children, getting the kids back and forth to school. Yes, that is a big concern, but Airway Heights is not friendly to people with disabilities, like with physical disabilities. I've had to stop and help somebody who's in a manual wheelchair to be able to get around. And so that kind of hurt me a little bit because I was like, I get where he's saying, that it has to go this way. But at the same time, I was like, these poor people with inclement weather, that road's not passable for wheelchairs, During the summer, you've got the sun in your eyes, in the evenings going west, in the mornings going east. And so I think that was something that I had to sit long and hard and think about after we had that conversation, because I was sitting here, okay, what else could we do to maybe make a bypass or a trail that would be safe for them to be able to access from the west end of Airway Heights to Hayford. So.
Well, thank you for those answers. I appreciate it.
Okay, kind of the question here. Historically speaking, engagement has been low in Airway Heights. How do you plan to involve residents and stakeholders in the decision-making process for the city?
I have a big mouth and I like to talk to people. I really do. I have Asperger's, so of course today that puts me on the spectrum. I was diagnosed before it became a part of the spectrum. So I have this mindset that I don't like people. I don't like large crowds, but then at the same time, I run a Girl Scout troop with 18 girls and their parents are active. I am constantly at the school, trying to fight for bettering of the school. I'm not a quiet person. I'm not. I want to be heard because I know that the change that I'm trying to make is trying to make that change, not just for us, but for the next generation, the ones who are going to continue working to improve things.
Are you committed to devoting the time required for the role?
Absolutely.
Positive. What do you see as your responsibilities on the council and to the community?
For me, it's about holding true to me, which is open lines of communication. Like I am a looking glass. My life is a looking glass. Transparency and being that way with you guys and with the community. I think that's going to help to kind of build them bridges with people who might be uncomfortable in certain situations. I have nothing that I'm like, oh, you know, that this is inside the house type of stuff. This like everything. I live my life by transparency.
And how do you see yourself fulfilling those responsibilities?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say just
Kind of a futuristic look ahead thing. Yeah.
I plan my life one day at a time. Honestly, for me, it's just about being able to come in here and say, hey, you know, I was walking in Teoks and I heard a gentleman or I heard a young lady who had these concerns and they felt like they weren't being heard, and being able to come to you guys and say, you know, I think that, you know, maybe this is something that we should talk about, and then letting them know, hey, now we have it on the agenda. Come, make your peace, you know, I bring people together. I am a part of the Heights Church, and my job over there is renting out rooms and cleaning up, and because that's what I do. Nothing is small at my house. I have slumber parties with kids I don't know. I have an open door policy. And I think that Airway Heights as a whole should have the same, you know, in regards to, you know, the drugs and the homelessness. I think that like, I know that we're creating paths for them, you know, with the center over off of Hayford and stuff. But I think like everybody walks by them and they're just disgusted. And you see all of these posts on social media that are disgusted. And people have to realize everybody has skeletons, you know. The matter of fact is somebody has to put an effort in to these people. If they are seeing that they are loved and valued, then and only then can they love and value themselves.
Thank you.
Cassandra, nice to meet you. My name's Jennifer. I'm actually going to combine question 4 and question 5 together. Right. If you received $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Well, I think starting to clean up the south side and making it more family friendly. I have people who live over there that some are friends, some are acquaintances, and the things that I see, like being able to create that safe space. Shorty Combs Park, when I was a kid, that's where I did Easter egg hunts with my nieces and nephews when I was 19, 20 years old. I'm afraid to take my kids over there. Definitely like creating a safe and accessible path through Airway Heights that would be people on 6th could access it, people on 21st could access it, so that they're not all having to hit the highway, which is, I'm gonna be fair, it's a 35-mile-per-hour road. I've seen cars passing me like I'm sitting still and I'm like, crosswalk, crosswalk, crosswalk. Oh, there's a pedestrian there. You know, so definitely different implementations to make it safe, to make it clean, to make it healthy and wholesome, so that people do want to stop, so that we want to come out of our house, so that people, my neighbor does not take her kids anywhere except for to Sunset Park. She's terrified. And I don't think that should be a thing. This is their home.
Okay, great. The city council has adopted plans for improving pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle mobility. The goal is to provide facilities that will meet the public current and future needs while reducing congestion. Are you committed to supporting the implementation of these plans?
Absolutely.
All right, and final question. Please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue, and you were on the dissenting side.
I mean, I would be probably disappointed. But at the same time, it's, you know, everybody doesn't get their way every time, and there's a reason for that. So if there's three people saying that, yes, we're for this, and you have the one that's like, no, I don't, there's obviously a reason that more are for it than against it. And for me, it would be about, okay, I need to obviously speak to them and see what their point of views are and what am I missing?
Thank you, Cassandra. That concludes all of our questions, and that wraps up all the time we have. Thank you for your thoughtful responses. Our plan again is to deliberate on the list of candidates and make a decision on May 5th.
Thank you.
Enjoy your week. We'll be in touch. Welcome the next candidate momentarily.
Council, the next candidate, Jesse Camacho, is on his way up.
All right, welcome, Mr. Camacho.
Thank you, sir.
Your candidate interview is tightly scheduled. You have 15 minutes to provide an opening statement and answer various questions from each council member. A total of 6 chunks, but additional questions within there. Time management during the interview is up to you. You will be evaluated based on your application materials and interview responses. If there is a pause between questions, it is because council members are taking notes. And if you need a question repeated, please ask. And the council will deliberate on the list of candidates and will act on 2 final candidates May 5th. Yep.
Mr. Camacho, Albert Tripp, City Manager. Again, welcome and thank you for being here this evening. The council would like you to start off by introducing yourself and providing an opening statement.
Yes, my name is Jesse Camacho. I'm originally from the island of Guam. I've lived in Airway Heights since 1998. I love our community. I've never held any type of office. And when this opportunity came up, I wanted to apply for it and so I can become involved in our community. I'm very proud of where we live. I can hear a pin drop where I live, and that's how I like it. Mr. Tripp, I was just listening to your podcast talking about the corridors, Highway 2, 90, and all the land we have available here for business coming in. I would like to come in and be a part of the council because of the tremendous growth we are experiencing in this town. And since I've been resident of Airway Heights, I figured it'd be time to become involved and to see what I can do for our community. And thank you for having me here today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Camacho. First kind of pair of questions, and you already elaborated on this, but you can expand on this as well. So you've mentioned why did you apply for this position and what do you hope to accomplish if you were selected? And then subsequently, what are your thoughts on what the city can become?
I've seen tremendous growth in this city. The one thing I see is that we have a ton of land here, and that's a great opportunity for businesses coming in. I want to work with the community and our constituents so that we have an equal voice in this town and we can work with our partners and planners to better this town and to give it the opportunity to remain on that map. We've had growth like the 2 casinos. I know the chief of police. I talk to chief pretty often. And like I said, I'm proud of this community. I want to see it grow, but I want to get into the internal makings of this city council and become a member so I can become involved and to see this town through.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You mind if I call you Jesse? I'm a first name guy.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, welcome. Let me ask you, what do you believe is the single most compelling issue facing the city of Airway Heights?
Tremendous growth.
Growth.
I see growth, and growth is great, but then the question being, how can we handle that growth? What type of resources do we have, and who do we become involved with, our stakeholders, so that we can see these changes that we need, we can see them through. We all want to see things, but we need resources to do that. And this is why we sit and corroborate with our partners and hopefully come to a happy medium and become successful in what we want to meet as far as our goals are concerned for the city.
Thank you. How do you feel about the city's approach to dealing with that issue?
With what's so bad?
No, the question is, how do you feel about the city's approach, our approach to dealing with that issue?
With growth. And I'm sorry, sir.
Well, you
sorry.
spoke about your concern about growth
Okay.
and the resources necessary to facilitate that, right?
Okay. Right.
Okay, so I'm asking you to expand on that. What do you think so far, living in the community? What's your opinion of our approach? What do you think about what we're doing or what we've been doing?
I think we're doing great for the resources we have. I try to keep up with the current events and what's going on in the city. I guess the biggest issue here would be trying to maintain our city, grow, and with the open opportunity for housing, and to identify those resources we need to make these improvements. But I think that the city in general, I'm proud of this city. I think we're doing a great job. We're always going to have issues, but this is why we sit down and that's why we communicate. We have to become transparent with the people in this town, get them involved with our city town hall meetings, and be transparent, because when we're not transparent, people start assuming. When people assume, then we have issues and they become very unnecessary. So that's why my belief is to be very transparent with what we do, even if it hurts.
Let me ask you this. What would you like to see the city do differently?
I'd really like to see the price of some of this housing come down. My son moved out here because his one bedroom was at $2,000. But with growth, we're going to get issues like that. And to me, the only way to try and bring change to these issues is to work with our partners. When they come in, see what they have to offer for the city. And sometimes we have to sit down and make hard decisions. But I would like to see the city continue to grow. And it's grown since I've been here. When I drove up here, people were asking me why I wanted to buy a house here. But I like peace and quiet. I come from a small island and I grew up on a farm. I like that peace and quiet. I know all my neighbors. It's a friendly community.
Thank you for that. The city council renders decisions regarding the implementation of plans, policies, and budgets that can often prove difficult. Can you share from experience a time when your perspective about something was challenged and you changed your mind?
Yes, sir. Where my experience comes in there was when I was deployed to Iraq. Being a convoy commander going up and down the corridor there were certain routes where I had really heavy doubt as to whether or not we should take them. I had officers going against me. I had senior non-commissioned officers that didn't agree with me. But I tried to make them understand. I said, you need to understand something. I've been here for 6 years already. You're just getting in country. If we take these routes without doing our due diligence, our reconnaissance to make sure that our troops are safe, and we're not going to lose our equipment, we're going to lose everything. Needless to say, the convoy was canceled for 3 days. I had senior staff going into meetings, asking me, handing me a map, asking me why I had the opinion that I had. But fortunately, we went with my plan. And unfortunately, 2 days later, somebody decided to take the other route and we lost 4 people. And even one is too much. So have I been faced with a ton of challenges? Sure I have. Would I do it all over again? I'd serve my country any day. But there's going to be some hard decisions to be made. And I want the council to know that if I am doing something wrong, I expect you to tell me.
Oh,
I
we're,
expect you to
we're
put
not
me in my
bashful
place.
that way.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's what it's about. 6 heads is better than one. And I might not see what you folks are seeing. And this is why we have to corroborate and work together.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it. Dave's going to ask you some questions now.
Okay, historically speaking, engagement has been low in Airway Heights. How do you plan to involve residents, stakeholders in the decision-making processes for the city?
I'm glad you asked that question, Dave, because I had to do my due diligence when I started my program with the Department of Social and Health Services. I had to go out. I had to have meetings with the stakeholders. I had to have meetings with the general public. And I had to convey to them why we're doing certain things, which at that time, they were lost. Nobody was keeping anybody informed. Nobody wanted to provide vendors and contracts to us. So my plan is to engage our community as much as possible and to be transparent to them so that they don't start assuming something. So to become engaged, it's nothing new to me to go around. I do it now. I walk down the street and I talk to everybody, even if I don't know them. That's part of being part of the community. But to engage the general public and our constituents, I believe, and our stakeholders, and who have good relationships with them is the key to get them involved and engaged in our community.
And are you committed to devoting the time required for the role?
Yes, sir, so long as I'm getting paid.
Do you see your responsibilities on the council? What do you see responsibilities on the council and to the community?
Say again, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got that. What do you see as your responsibilities on the council and to the community?
To be transparent, to be a team player, and to ensure that the best interests of our community is looked at. And as prime example of that is, I had the question posed to me as far as listening to lobbyists and stuff. I don't work for lobbyists. I work for the people of the community. And it might be a hard decision, but when we deviate from that, then we lose the trust in our community. And that's just a basic fact.
And how do you see yourself fulfilling those responsibilities?
By being very visible, having an open door, making sure that people can get a hold of me, and making sure that I'm there for the people of this community. And I'm here to answer those questions. And if I don't have the answers right then and there, then I'll find the answers and get back to them. But we definitely don't want to lose the people of this community. We don't want to lose their trust. If you lose that, we have nothing.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Welcome, Mr. Camacho. Is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Jesse Camacho.
Nice to meet you. I'm going to combine questions 4, 5, and 6, just to make it easy. First question, if you received $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
It's probably a trick question. $1 million and I could do whatever I want with it. I think the smartest thing to do, ma'am, with that situation is to get together as council members and to figure out where that money can be best spent. Okay, because we get told we can have it and we can spend it any way we want, doesn't mean we're going to take that money and just flounder it all over the place. We need to sit down. We're a growing city. There are things that are going to take priority, and we want to put that money to good use. And that's what I do with those funds.
Good. The city council has adopted plans for improving pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle mobility. The goal is to provide facilities that will meet the public current and future needs while reducing congestion. Are you committed to supporting the implementation of these plans?
Yes, ma'am. Again, with growth, those are essential issues and they're essential needs. Just the other day, I was out walking my German Shepherd, and I went down to the north side and saw all that construction going on. And I stopped by and I asked one of the guys, I said, hey, we just busted this road up. Why are we doing it again? And they're making a, if I'm not mistaken, a 10-foot walkway or bikeway or bicycle lane going down the road there. So yes, I support that. We're getting a school at the other end of town. If the infrastructure is changing, it's got to be improved. So yes, I totally support that.
Then the last question, please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue and you were on the dissenting side.
What I do, I would discuss and see why we went 4-3. Again, there's going to be hard decisions that have to be made. And if it's 4-3 and it's going to pass, I'm going to know why. And whether I agree with it or not, it's just one of those things that, is going to happen from time to time. We're not going to get everything we want from time to time. But the important thing to me is understanding why. And I want to see everyone's perspective to include mine. I don't like conflict. I know in my heart that we can sit down as grown adults and we can agree to disagree. But again, I'm very well aware that there's going to be times when it's not going to go my way. And I understand that. And I fully accept that.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. That concludes all the time we have. We thank you for your thoughtful responses. And again, our plan is to deliberate on the list of candidates and make a decision by May 5th. So enjoy your week and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. If selected, I look forward to working with each and every one of you. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I'll get the next candidate.
Welcome, Mr. Campbell. Your candidate interview is tightly scheduled. We'll have 15 minutes to provide an opening statement and answer various questions from each council member. Time management during the interview is up to you. You will be evaluated based on your application materials and interview responses. If there is a pause between questions, it is because council members are taking notes. And if you need a question repeated, please ask. And the council will deliberate on the list of candidates and will act on 2 final candidates May 5th. Tripp?
Mr. Campbell, again, welcome and thank you for being here. The council would like you to start by introducing yourself and providing your opening statement.
Well, my name is Bill Campbell. I have lived in Airway Heights since 2018, having retired from the Air National Guard after 40 years. We downsized from our place out in Valleyford and settled here in Airway. And I've been impressed with the growth that I've seen in Airway during my years commuting back and forth to Fairchild and having been in the area generally since 1990. I thank you for welcoming me here this evening. I think our nation and our community is likely to face some challenges in the coming years. And I think that would be a very poor time to have our council be less than fully staffed. And I would be more than happy to help fill that gap if the call came. I have to admit, though, my first love is the Planning Commission. And I have very much enjoyed the work that we've done there. And I would hate to have to let go of that, which I understand would be a condition of employment, if you will. But that being said, I want to go where I can be of best service to the community.
All right, thank you, Mr. Campbell. And this first question, you alluded to part of this in your opening statement, but feel free to elaborate. Why did you apply for the position, and what do you hope to accomplish if you are selected? And secondarily, what are your thoughts for what the city can become?
Well, as I said, I think we need the full strength of the council. We need all the voices to lead our community forward and continue the work that's already been started. And again, I just compliment the community and this council and the body of leadership here that have accomplished so much in the area. The growth, I think, has been great. I think from my perspective, I think the growth has been well managed. And I appreciate that. Part of my work and emphasis on the Planning Commission is to balance the needs of the future and our community and constituents, while at the same time protecting the things that we love about this community in terms of housing and street safety and all those kinds of things. So it's finding that balance. What I would hope to bring is I feel like I have a fairly analytical approach to looking at things. I love to do the deep dive. I'm the guy that's doing the research, reading every piece of paper they put in front of me, right? So I may at times come across as being a bit skeptical, but I don't like to take things just at face value. So I do a lot of research and am willing to be persuaded. I have been persuaded. Again, going back to Planning Commission work. I had some preconceived notions about the housing situation and the missing middle housing thing. And my thought process moved the needle several times on that before finally settling down and helping to get the things through that we did do.
Thank you.
Well, Bill, let me ask you this. What do you believe is the single most compelling issue facing the city of Airway Heights?
That's a complex question.
We often ask complex questions.
I think in the long term, and I'm going to have to answer it maybe in two parts. I think in the long term, our compelling issue is to continue to grow our economy here, to not simply be a bedroom community of Spokane, but to develop our own vibrant economy here with good jobs, good services, good retail availability, all those things that make a thriving community. I think in the short term, and I don't know, I've taken a quick look at the city's most current budget. And I don't see, if I read it correctly, I didn't see a lot of reliance on federal funds, but my concern in the short term would be as things are changing in our nation's capital, what are those impacts going to be here in terms of immediate and maybe delayed things that happen. For instance, if we see a decline in federal employment around here in the region, what will that do to Airway? What will that do to our housing markets and those kinds of things? So I think the short-term concern is just what's the immediate future going to be? How dependent are we, or how impacted are we going to be by the changes in DC as we move forward?
Well, based on your response, Bill, how do you feel about the city's approach to dealing with that issue?
I'm sorry, whose approach? The city's approach? How do I feel about it? Well, I'm not sure I know what it is and what it has been up till now. So maybe if you could elaborate a little bit.
Well, I mean, you spoke initially, you provided the answer to my initial question. And I'm curious to know, and I'm sure others are as well, how do you feel about our approach? You know, we're trying to provide governance, right? For the city. How do you think we've done in dealing with your issues that you just spoke?
I think, as I said, I think earlier, I've been very, I guess, proud of and pleased with, the direction that this body has taken. I think the decisions that have been made, from what I've seen, have been good. I feel good about being here as a homeowner. We like the community. We like, the things that are proximity to Spokane without being Spokane, and those kinds of things. I think our relationship with Fairchild Air Force Base is right where it needs to be. We're walking the line as far as their potential, and how they impact us and how we support them. I think that balance is where it ought to be. And I think our initiatives with the safety initiative, I think the new city building on Garfield, I think all of those things are making the right choices.
That's nice to hear. Thank you. What would you like to see the city do differently?
I think, notwithstanding whatever unforeseen things that are in our immediate future or near future, I would like to see us work to grow the economy more. You know, we're doing, I think, an admirable job on the housing thing. It's great to see the new businesses, you know, in town. The new Yokes is a fabulous facility. The new, the hardware guys, is a great addition. But I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to explore what we could do to bring more business, not just, no offense to any fast food business chain owners, but, you know, maybe another couple of nice sit down restaurants, but more, you know, more than that. I'd like to see maybe some mom and pop retail places come.
The city council renders decisions regarding the implementation of plans, policies, and budgets that can often prove difficult. Can you share from experience a time when your perspective about something was challenged and you changed your mind?
Missing middle housing. When the missing middle housing thing first came to the planning commission, my, having grown up in suburban environment my entire life, having raised my family in the suburban environment, I liked suburban lifestyle. I like a yard. I like my own place. And so as we explored all the new options, in the case of the things that the state pushed towards us, not so much options, but alternatives, and doing some research, reading some various reports and studies across the spectrum of towns and cities in the country, I came to realize that not everybody needs an 8,000 square foot yard or a 4,000 square foot house. It's not even, some people still desire that, certainly, but not everybody. And if the trends that I was reading about hold true, that's going to continue. And so that moved the needle for me on things like lot sizes, the configuration of different housing types that we were willing to welcome into the community. And I live just down the street from Highland Village. And so we've got the cottage homes, we've got the multiplexes in there. I can see them from my front door. And that's a very big difference from the suburbia that I grew up in. And I sincerely believe that that is a direction that communities will need to take in order to provide housing opportunities for all of our citizens. And our chairman, Mark Collins, actually said something regarding his employees that really struck me. Took a while to sink in, but he wanted his employees to be able to find a good place to live in Airway Heights. And that really caught my attention.
Thank you for your answers, Bill. Much appreciated. May I ask you some questions?
Right, historically speaking, engagement has been low in Airway Heights. How do you plan to involve residents, stakeholders in the decision-making processes for the city?
Well, I think that question of engagement has been a challenge since there have been city governments and state governments. And I think it's toughest for people that are working, probably. I think, I'm aware of the various things that we've done so far with the various projects, the Sixth Street, the safety initiatives, all those things. I guess you've got to try to reach people where they are. And I'm not even, that's a phrase that you hear all the time. I'm not even really sure what it means. I'm not a particularly social creature. Frankly, I'm an introvert. Doesn't always come across, but I really am. I enjoy my alone time. But I think we've got to use every method, and I think the city has done a pretty good job. You send mailers, you've got social media presence, you're holding open houses at various times of the day, and in common places that are maybe less intimidating, like the hub, versus coming here. So I think all of those things, I don't have an answer, actually, I guess is really what I'm trying to say is I think you guys are doing everything you can do. There will always be naysayers at the end of the day. There will always be that person that says, oh, I don't remember hearing about this. Well,
No, we've never experienced that, have we?
I guess the tough part about being in leadership is you're out front and you can't keep looking backward to see if everybody's following all the time. You gotta keep looking forward.
Are you committed to devoting the time required for that role?
I am.
What do you see your responsibilities on the council and to the community?
My individual responsibility?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
Um,
kind of, what's your presence in council and the community then, yeah?
Well, to be collaborative, to be open, to be willing to be persuaded, to be honest, to be willing to say things that may not be always popular. One of the things I learned one of the last things I did before I retired was deploy to the Middle East. And I spent some time in Afghanistan and Qatar. And I led a small group of people that had a very, very large, disproportionately large job in the Middle East for the Air Force. And one of the things that we had to learn to do, and it wasn't easy, was we had to learn to tap the brakes. We had to learn that not every phone call is a crisis. And that by tapping the brakes occasionally, it gave us some time to really look at whatever it was that just exploded on our desks and figure out the best course of action. Whereas if we'd have just jumped, like the military often wants to do, right? Get that problem off my desk, put the fire out right now, don't ask too many questions. Often when we did do that, often causes more headache in the long run. So I might be that guy that says, maybe we should tap the brakes on this. But I think mostly just being open, collaborative, and being willing to be persuaded and trying to persuade others about whatever it is we're facing.
And you kind of answered it already, but how do you see yourself fulfilling those responsibilities?
Read every piece of paper you put in front of me.
Yeah, you always got to
attend
be
every
ready,
meeting.
Yeah, being ready to give the info as needed. Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. That approaches at our time here, but I think for fairness, if Ms. Morton would just pick one question, brief one that she chooses, and we'll have to end here for fairness.
If you received $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
me personally, if I received $1 million, or if if I got $1 million grant for the city. Okay, let me make sure I heard you correctly. And I do have a hearing, but I have hearing aids. I'm hoping to get some new ones. So forgive me if I mishear you. I think, I would look at what kind of funds do we need to finish up the new city building and create a city hall, finish creating a new city hall. Look for the best way to then recapitalize this facility. I would, I think, continue to look at what we need for public safety, if there are unfunded things there. I think I would at least explore maybe the possibility of some sort of initiatives, whether that would be economic development zones, some kind of tax deferrals. I really don't like those, but I know they're a tool to see what we can do to grow our economy locally, make this a desirable place for people to want to bring their businesses, and get us a new water source. Maybe I should have put that at the top, but I think I know I've spent $1 million. I know.
All right, thank you, Mr. Campbell. That is all the time we have. We thank you for your thoughtful responses. Our plan is to deliberate on the list of candidates and again, make a decision by May 5th. Enjoy your week and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Chair and Council, the last candidate on your list for this evening is Carrie Bro. She's down in the lobby. Mrs. Schubert is inviting her up as we speak. Just a reminder as Carrie makes her way up. If memory serves correct, I believe the council is slated to, following the final interview tonight, start deliberating on the different candidates. And then in the future here, on May 5th, your first meeting in May, then make a decision about whom you would like to appoint to the vacant positions.
Hello, welcome, Ms. Bro. As we
Carrie
begin,
is great.
all right, Carrie.
Rose, my mother-in-law.
Definitely. As we begin tonight, your candidate interview is tightly scheduled. You'll have 15 minutes to provide an opening statement and then answer follow-up questions from each council member. Time management during the interview is up to you. You'll be evaluated based on your application materials and interview responses. There is a pause between questions. It is because council members are taking notes. And if you need a question repeated, please ask. And the council will deliberate on the list of candidates and will act on 2 final candidates May 5th. Mr. Tripp?
Carrie, again, thank you and welcome. The council would like to start off by having you introduce yourself and providing your opening statement.
Well, you didn't warn us about an opening statement. I just want to say that. But anyway, I am Carrie Bro. Been a part of the Airway Heights community. We moved into town 2008. We were located just north once we got married. On the personal level, we've been married 33 years. Not bad for our age. Got 2 grandbabies. I've tossed around the idea of being part of the city council for many years. Well, you're a mom, so 3 kids, husband's working hard, don't have enough time. And it was really funny when the social media one came out. That's where I saw it. I was like, 3 days before, I wonder. And it popped up. So here I am, gonna give it a whirl. Don't have any intent of going anywhere. We live basically right across the street from Sunset Park, so we have the best fireworks show ever. But yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, Carrie. And this question, you can elaborate on some of your opening statements, but why did you apply for this position and what do you hope to accomplish if you were selected? And then secondarily, what are your thoughts on what the city can become?
I don't have a good reason why, not anything solid, just again, I have a little bit more time now, that my kids are grown. My youngest is off at college and I miss her terribly, but let's do something new. Let's try something else that's challenging. Um, Repeat the second part, please.
Definitely. What are your thoughts on what the city can become?
I honestly think our city has huge potential. We have a lot of obstacles. We have a lot of things that are going on. We are growing so fast. And I just think we have an opportunity to really come together, listen. That's something that I think we've lost, is being able to listen. And on when I was looking up like some possibilities of questions, it's we need to pause. You need to pause to listen. You need to pause to speak, pause to pass judgment, and then pause to make a decision. And it's something I'm, constantly working on, because my biggest thing is you need to listen to hear and not listen to respond.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. Hank is up next.
Thank you for being here, Carrie. Let me ask you a few questions. What do you believe is the single most compelling issue facing the city of Airway Heights?
The amount of growth in a very short time. And I'm sure that we all know that the traffic, just the influx of traffic, Highway 2 is crazy. All the side streets are crazy. And then also with our influx of people coming in, we have a lot more immigrants. We have a lot, some low income. And I really feel as the city, we need to be reaching out to those people to help them get resources, help them get established, help them understand the rules, understand things that are okay to do, not okay to do. And lastly, it would be the strain on our resources. When you talk police, fire, and even something as simple as grocery stores. It's just, we don't have enough.
Thank you for that. How do you feel about the city's approach to dealing with that issue?
I think because it happened so fast, it really seems like it's been an overnight thing. I think it's been a little bit of run to catch up, and that's nobody's fault. That's just what had happened. And I don't think anyone saw it coming. Should have known better. You put 2 Amazon buildings and a couple other ones, and it's the luck of the draw. We're a great city. It's beautiful. Just out of town enough. But I think it's just plow forward and figure out what works best.
What would you like to see this city do differently?
Be proactive. Whether that be looking far enough ahead to know that in 5 years, X road is going to need repaved, or to look far enough ahead that we're going to have 10,000 more people. We may need to look at building another fire station. We may need to learn or to know that we've got to add more police. And it's just a matter of figuring it out. And it takes time, unfortunately.
The city council renders decisions regarding the implementation of plans, policies, and budgets that can often prove difficult. Can you share from experience a time when your perspective about something was challenged and you changed your mind?
I've served on a couple different board opportunities. My youngest that graduated in 23 was part of the marching band program at Cheney. That's an entity in itself. It's its own running, functioning, ordeal with parents. I served for 2 years as the president. There's always a conflict of opinions. You have very headstrong type A, not me. I'm sit back, I'm a great worker bee, and I'll listen and I'll learn and I'll absorb it. But in those type of situations, you just really have to learn how to compromise. And again, goes back to listen to hear and not listen to respond. And I was also part, my oldest daughter did roller derby. And I was part of that board. I was never so happy to get involved with the sport that I had no knowledge of. And I'm like, yes, we can just sit here. Within 6 months, I was on the board and you're traveling everywhere. And when you talk roller derby, you have lots of colorful and eclectic personalities that you have to work with.
Well, thank you for your responses. Dave's going to ask you some questions now. Thank you.
Okay, Carrie, historically speaking, engagement has been low in Airway Heights. How do you plan to involve residents and stakeholders in the decision-making process?
Man, that's a good question. We talk about it, my husband and I do, after every election, of how many people don't vote. And I know part of it is when you talk, people that live here from the base, they have their voting rights, in their own home state. But again, leading back to with the immigrants that are new to the area, if we can get out there, speak to them, let them know if, things you want done, things you want to see, things that are important, coming from their countries, they probably don't know you can do that. So it's our job to interact. How you do it? I don't know, because we have a couple events a year at the park. You talk Airway Heights Days, fantastic. But I don't know that that's the right timing. But if you don't do it with a big event, is anyone going to come? And so it makes it really difficult to know when's the perfect timing to have it.
And are you committed to developing the time required for that role?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, kids are grown and now I have more time and
Okay.
try something new.
Time's ready to spend, huh?
Right? Yeah.
Okay, what do you see your responsibilities on the council and to the community?
Well, first off is, there's a lot of confidentiality and it's fairness and honesty. And the biggest thing is just be kind. Kindness will get you a long ways these days rather than, jumping to conclusions and being mad. And it's not, Joe Schmo's, fault that your hamburger took forever to cook. He's not the one cooking. Be kind. Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you see yourself fulfilling that responsibility? Just being kind and,
Just being
You know,
kind. Yeah. And
yeah,
really,
of, the responsibility of,
yeah. And just learning the inner workings and, I may think it sounds great to be part of it. And you get in there and go, wow, this is way different than what I expected. You're never going to know till you try.
learning the role.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we on time?
We have about 5 minutes. We're pretty good.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice to meet you. Okay. If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think honestly, it's for the youth. Let's get our youth involved. And when I say youth, I'm not talking littles. Let's do, middle school, elementary, high school. You know, our community stretches wide, you know, the school district, it's 100 square miles that their buses do every single day, twice a day, actually. And if we want change, we've got to start there. What's happening, unfortunately, is kids are repeating what they're hearing. And so if we can give that education to the kids, this is important for you to do voting, learning how it goes, reading, you know, just expanding your horizons. You talk the reading. I read The Lightning Thief, and I was really embarrassed how much Greek mythology I did not know. So if you introduce them to that type of education, they're going to learn something. Sports, huge. We do a great job. You know, I saw that there's the short sports now. I think that's fantastic. Just get the word out and just know that this is a community and people need to feel safe.
Yeah, we have about 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll ask this last question. Please describe how you would react to a situation in which the council voted 4-3 to approve a very contestable issue and you are on the dissenting side.
I think one of the biggest things that we have lost over the last many years is agree to disagree and be able to talk about it. Nobody has to be right. Not everyone has to win. And it's come to the point where the contention it causes and the rifts that it causes, whether it's in friends or family or on the city council, it's really damaging. And so, sure, maybe it wasn't what I wanted. That is what happens. And that's okay. I'm very much a go with the flow, roll with it, but I don't hesitate to speak my mind and be honest about what I feel. If my peers feel that that's what's best, that's what you do.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. That concludes all the time we have. We thank you for your thoughtful responses. And again, our plan is to deliberate on the list of candidates and make a decision by May 5th. Please enjoy your week and we'll be in touch.
Mr. Chair, and council, that concludes all the candidates scheduled for an interview this evening. As noted earlier, the council plans to deliberate and take action on May 5th. And I would say to the candidates in the audience, thanks for being here this evening. Thanks for taking the time out of your day and for volunteering for this particular process. You're also welcome to stay the rest of the meeting and enjoy the conversation, discussion tonight.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tripp. That moves us on to our next item D, the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates HERE Grant. Tripp?
Mr. Chair, I think Lise Minotti is online. I think she's going to be performing the overview of this one. Stanley, can you confirm if Elise is on?
I don't see her name up here. I don't think she's online yet.
Okay, Mr. Chair and Council, at this time, then I would propose that we table this item for a future meeting then.
All right. It's been requested we table item D. Do I have a desire of council? Morton?
I move to table home electrification and appliance rebates HERE grant.
Been moved by Ms. Morton to table item D. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Malay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? And motion is tabled 4-0. Moving on to item D, the Camtech Incorporated Security and Fire Alarm Contract. Yep.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think Mr. Schubert will be covering this one this evening.
That's correct. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a contract the staff is proposing to council to for us to move ahead and go in contract with Camtech Inc. Security and Fire Alarm. historically, the city has had several contracts with Wirenet or other security firms for our fire alarm as well as security. We're trying to consolidate all buildings and facilities in the city to one contract, and through that save funds for better use. Wirenet has increased their rates dramatically over the last couple of years, and Fire Marshal Mike Michaela has identified Chemtech Inc. as a viable source to contract with. If there's any further questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Questions or comments from council? All right, do I have a desire on item E? Motion?
Move to approve item E.
Been moved by Mr. Malay. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Morton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, moving on to item F, the consideration of appointment of an applicant to the Planning Commission. Ms. Troutman.
I'll be taking this. Thank you. A member of the public, Lisa Speck, has submitted an application to fill the vacancy on the Planning Commission per Airway Heights Municipal Code 2.20.020B. Members of the Planning Commission are nominated by the chair and voted on by the council. So we are requesting consideration to place Mrs. Speck on the Planning Commission.
Sorry, any comments or questions from council? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve consideration for appointment, Planning Commission.
Been moved by Mr. Malay. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Morton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? And motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
All right, that'll move us on to our ordinances. Item G, the missing middle housing amendment. This one is Mrs. Troutman.
If you don't mind, I'm going to stand. I've been sitting for a long time today. I've made a commitment in 2025 for health and wellness. And Dave saw me at the gym earlier today, and that's part of it. So thank you very much. Just a reminder, this is a continued public hearing from 2 weeks ago for the city council for what is affectionately called the missing middle package. The public testimony, including written testimony and verbal testimony, have been closed. We do have and continue to have all of the draft documents available online for consumption of both the city council and the public. And Zach will share on to Zoom so anyone out in the audience is able to see these as well. So I'm very happy to say that we were able to go through the testimony 2 weeks ago, as well as meet with representation from the development community and the affordable housing community with regards to the proposal. And as a result of that, the staff has put together a summary in the form of a matrix for the city council. It not only assists in what the decision is for each of the ordinances, but it also identifies what existing language there is and what proposed language that there is. And considering that there's 22 ordinances, we were hoping that this would be a way to simplify and make it easier for the council. We did hand out fresh copies of these for the council, and it also includes some additional language that's a little more detailed that we've been working with the development community on with regards to driveways. And so you have a color copy that shows some recommended language that was put out. And then we did meet with both the fire department and also communicated with the public works department around the driveway language. And I believe we have consensus. So the good news is that I think that we have consensus over everything. And I'm just going to run through very quickly what that means for the council. So as we mentioned, there are about 22 ordinances, and I'm going to go in the order in which they actually appear here on the screen. And so we've given the name of the code and the ordinance. So Traffic impact fees. We are recommending one minor modification, which is referencing ADUs. The reason is that House Bill 1337 would require in that chapter that we do not charge more than 50% of the fee for an ADU than a single family. So this was actually briefed to the Planning Commission, but we needed to make sure that it also ended up in the text. And so we would ask that the council approve this ordinance with this minor modification based on the House bill, which is state law. Any questions on that before I move on? The next one has to do with water systems. Again, this is a reference to accessory dwelling units. It simply was omitted, and the reason for that is we often talk about missing middle, but it actually was a separate bill. So we have to specifically call out the word accessory dwelling unit when we talk about connecting water. And the same thing you'll see a little bit later. Any questions on water systems? Sanitary sewer system, the ordinance that's been available online and that the council's had in their package, there are no changes proposed. Water concurrency, this is very similar. There was omission to the definition of accessory dwelling unit. We just want to make sure that it's referenced as another type of housing that we're adding to all of the ordinances, and that is the only change. Any questions about water concurrency? Yes. Oh. Okay. Subdivision, no changes. This is an area where we were able to get into agreement, and this was specific to the unit lot subdivision, which is a requirement of state law to allow for this to be utilized when these types of housing, duplexes, townhomes, ADUs are added to a lot to be able to separate them and to make them saleable. We've agreed that this would be limited to the state law, which is 9 lots could be created through that process. So we're in agreement on the testimony as well as the staff recommendation. Definitions. This is a code that basically identifies all the other words used throughout the development code. That's the purpose of it. There was one typo we wanted to bring to your attention, and that's where we just love Microsoft Word, and it automatically changed floor area ratio to floor area ration. So we're just recommending a grammatical correction there, which is under 1704-060. They're under the zoning classifications, just all of the different types of housing that we've already gone through. So those include accessory dwelling units, duplex, triplex, fourplex, townhome, cottage housing, which are single family clustered on a piece of property, and so forth. So no changes there.
Heather, let me interrupt just for a second.
Mhm.
Does that include kit houses too?
The building code actually covers construction types, so there's no impact on what the International Residential Code allows or doesn't allow. And yes, you can do any of these as what we call a modular. So if there's a company that can create it and erect it, essentially, that would be acceptable as long as it can meet the International Residential Code typically. Okay, so now to the meat, which has to do with the neighborhood family residential zone. And this is just a recap on really the 3 areas that were provided testimony on. And to be really clear, we're recommending that the city council adopt attachment A, which was the planning commission recommendation. And that recommendation in summary was a 50% site coverage, a 45-foot height, and I have a caveat to that, which I'll mention in a moment, and 6,000 square feet. Currently, if you were in the single family zone, it's 7,200. And the caveat to that is at the bottom of the page, which is the on discussions with Greenstone Habitat for Humanity and Storehog Engineering. We went through how the International Residential Code measures building height, which has to do with a number of factors like average grade and the high point between the peak and the habitable space inside. And what we've agreed to was to recommend, rather than 45 feet, recommend 40 feet. And just as a recollection here, staff had recommended 35, which is the current zone limit. And we heard testimony from a number of parties to go to 45, and everybody's agreed to 40 feet. there would still be an ability to do 3 stories. Really, the nuts and the bolts of this was how tall each story was. And so there was, Mhm.
Still do the 9-foot interior?
That's my understanding is that they would be able to make it work with 40 feet. Mhm. Good questions. Let's see, so, that is the recommendation. Everything else, remains the same as you've seen on the, draft that was forwarded to city council. So any other questions about the neighborhood
That's
family
a
residential?
6,000 square foot lot.
6,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Minimum lot size. Mhm. Okay. Um, the, next ordinance 1080 is repealing the former manufactured, home zone. There's no changes to that, and repealing the former R2 zone. So just a reminder, this is a consolidation of several zones down to essentially 2 residential zones. And I should note with this that there's also adoption of the official zoning map that goes with this that you've seen in the PowerPoint, just showing 2 colors of blue. In the the multifamily residential zone, again, a recap, we're recommending the planning commission's recommendations, which were attachment A. Again, the 50% site coverage from the recommendation, the 45, which we've discussed again, was to go to 40 feet. That's a slight change from the planning commission recommendation, and 6,000 square feet, which is currently in the draft and also is currently in the former R3 zone. Any questions? So I need some feedback after tonight. Tell me if this matrix made it easier to get through the hurdle. The airport overlay zone simply references the new missing middle housing type. So we're not recommending any changes from the version that's available online. The planning and development, we actually have a couple of items here. Can you hand me the page if you would, Zach? It's just underneath the first one. There we go. Thank you. So the purpose of a planning and development was to allow for flexibility based on individual design, and you could do things like you could eliminate minimum lot size. So if somebody wanted to have lots that were this footprint of a building, you'd be able to do that. You could modify setbacks, you can modify site coverage. All of that remains the same in the draft, but there are 2 items that we heard from Greenstone that we wanted to make sure and identify. And one was during the planning commission hearing, the planning commission had asked under 1717-115 that the fire limits in the underlying zone wouldn't be able to be modified through the PUD, and that was omitted by accident. It was part of the planning commission recommendation. The other was street design flexibility. And this has to go to a conversation we're about to have, which identifies that alley access is required for developments in a PUD, and we're going to speak to that a little bit more, which is more flexible around the utilization of our existing provisions about the use of driveways. And that's a little bit more in the detailed language I'll get to in a moment. Let's see, the next one has to do with storage and shipping containers. We're not recommending any changes to the draft that's already been presented to council. And again, this is just updating with the new names of the zones. We're repealing the 0 lot line standards. There's no need for that any longer because you can buy both unit lot subdivision and other mechanisms. You're able to do 0 lot line. We're clearly allowing townhome development. That means you can build a wall right up to a property line. So you don't have to go through a separate process in order to allow that. So it was a redundant system that had additional requirements that are no longer needed because of the state legislation. Manufactured home parks, there are no changes to what was proposed ordinance. And just to be clear, we're making it really clear that a new manufactured home park is through a conditional use permit. Essential public facilities, there are no changes. Again, we're just updating new zones, so no changes from the draft that you've previously seen. So that takes care of, again, most of the testimony that you heard. Oh, pardon me. Let's see, pardon me. So off-street parking and loading, there are no changes from what has already been proposed. So again, that drops down to one parking stall for most types of uses, reduces it to 0 for ADUs under the new state law because they're within half a mile of a major transit stop, we can't require it. And it also reduces the parking for apartment buildings. The sign section is a cross-reference to the new zones. There are no changes proposed. The accessory dwelling units, there's no proposed changes there. It's overhauled, consistent with the new bill, including that we're required to meet minimum size requirements for ADUs, allow for one detached and one internal on every lot as part of the new code. And it also doesn't allow for distinguishing ADUs from any other type of standard. In other words, you can't make special additional requirements for ADUs than you would for single family. Landscaping is referencing the new zones, and I think that is all of them. Yep, perfect. Okay. So just in summary, I believe we've reached consensus on the testimony you received last time. We're supporting the Planning Commission's recommendations with the note around the building height in both of the zones. And there was one other issue which there was clarity sought with regards to driveway access. So keep in mind that there's a lot of focus on conversations on driveways and alleys, but think of the city. When you think of your own neighborhood, there's a street getting you to your block. And a driveway gets from your structure, your home, to the street. Alleys can serve as a secondary means to get to that home. So oftentimes the goal of alleys is so that you don't have the front street filled in with driveways. So if you think of townhomes where maybe that townhome is only 20 feet wide and you have a 16-foot driveway, then you end up with an entire street frontage punctuated by driveways. So alleys create an alternative for accessing lots and potentially parking in the back. So that's kind of the circulation network. One of the issues that we've had is some clarity with regards to the Department of Commerce guidelines on access by driveways, looking at our own public works standards and coming up with some language here. And so we had received some recommendation from StoreHog around how to slightly modify some language in both the neighborhood residential and the multifamily residential zone that would allow access beyond alleys. And that included basically driveways. And so we've worked with Public Works Department, we work with the Fire Department, we worked with Albert today, and we've come up with a very simple suggestion, which is this draft proposal, which incorporates the Department of Commerce model language, but makes it our own based on our Public Works standards. And we did send this also back to the development community to take a look at with an explanation of how the network works. And so it's very simple. Our existing Public Works standards basically allow for lots of houses to use a driveway on the same lot. We don't actually limit it. And we allow for 2 lots to share a driveway in addition to that. And so that makes sense, and that's pretty consistent with the way that Commerce envisions access by driveway. What we did, though, is we added some language that Commerce recommended that Greenstone and my understanding is the nonprofit community are supportive of, which is talks about how far a driveway can go. And so in that, it's 150 feet. And the magic around that number has to do with how far hoses and how far a fire truck can go without a turnaround into an area. And so it's literally under the fire code, a fire truck will only back up 150 feet max. So we just incorporated that language from the fire code to make it really simple, which is you can have access by driveway to a bunch of different types of homes on the same lot, which is consistent with the missing middle. But you're limited to 150 feet in depth with that driveway so that fire apparatus, fire truck can serve the site. And then we picked up language directly from the Department of Commerce's guidance, which says that if you end up with structures on a lot that are farther away than 150 feet, then you have to use one of these three options, and this is out of the model code. Approved automatic sprinkler systems, or you can only have 2 units using the same driveway, or you can use an alley or a driveway that has similar fire protection means provided. So it provides that if something's going on, there can be decision by the fire department if there's another way to still serve for fire purposes to those. So in that area, my understanding is we again have agreement with this language here. And I've included exactly how it would fit into the draft code you have. So that only leaves one final issue. I got everybody's attention. So that final issue has to do with driveway width. So our public works standards for residents has a minimum size of 16 feet. Residential driveway is a minimum of 16 feet. So it's the width of 2 cars. The proposal in the Greenstone and Storehog had been to reduce that to 12 feet, which is consistent with the Department of Commerce's model code. Our fire department and public works department have concerns over going less than that because there's not really ultimately a maximum depth that a driveway can go, except for what we've shown here, which is limiting the number of units. So I had a chance, here to meet with Mr. Frank very quickly, but I've not had a chance to meet with fire because it just came up, which is that there could be other ways to deal with the 16 feet. So I'm going to give you a couple of options tonight. I'm going to pause there for a moment. Okay. First option is that the council could pass all of the other ordinances with all of the changes, including the driveway tonight, and hold out the driveway width as the sole item and come back in 2 weeks and have a discussion about that. The other alternatives, which we haven't had a chance to speak with Fire Public Works about, would be to keep 16 feet of unobstructed width. So the pavement would still be 12 feet, but nothing would be allowed to be on either side for 16 feet of unobstructed width. And the thought was that if you ended up with, well, basically that's second option. Third option would be 12 feet. And the Commerce Code actually says 13 feet of horizontal clear. And that's because fire trucks are so tall, right? So you don't want a deck or something hanging out from the house or bay window. And it could be 12 feet if there were no structures beyond 100 feet from a public or private street. If that driveway was deeper than 100 feet, then the whole thing had to be 16 feet. So these are some options that work to try and address our fire apparatus needs. But there's 3 options for you to consider how you would like to do that. So one is you could pass everything except the driveway width tonight, and then come back in 2 weeks, or you could choose to pass the whole thing with the 12-foot paved, 16-foot clear obstruction area. And I will say that I did talk to Mike Michaela with the fire marshal earlier, and the concern has to do with beyond the 12 feet having enough stable ground wider than the 12 feet. So a fire apparatus could roll down it. But the third option would be a break. So if all structures could be served within 100 feet of a street, then a driveway could go down to 12 feet. If structures on the lot were going to be further back than 100 feet, then the whole driveway would have to be 16 feet.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on the whole package, leaving the width of the driveway for a subsequent discussion so that, maybe we can get some more input on fire side.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. Beinecker, second by Ms. Morton. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor to approve all ordinances excluding the driveway width? All in favor? All opposed? Motions pass. Ordinances 4-0.
Thank you very much.
I will say that is, after the contention 2 weeks ago, that's great news that consensus was reached. It makes our job a lot easier.
There was a lot of work that went into that.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Nicely done, Ms. Troutman and Mr. Becker and associates. Very good.
And I would like to say, Heather, I really do appreciate the matrix that you provided the council. It was really helpful.
Definitely. Excellent. And that'll move us on to item number H, which is the second reading of ordinance C-1093, amending the final budget for the year ending December 31st, 2025. Mr. Schubert?
Before I go to item H, I just want to ask Mr. Gibbons, do we have to read the ordinance into, for second reading into motion at all?
Absent, absent a motion to modify the council rules, this would still be a first reading and then a second reading to pass, correct?
Correct, correct.
Okay,
And we had the first reading 2 weeks ago, I believe, no, 4 weeks ago.
okay,
And so we haven't had the second reading. We just approved something that wasn't read into motion yet.
okay. Then we would need a second. That one.
Okay. So, Mr. Perry, unless the council puts a motion in with one read, I would have to read all those ordinances.
Because of the changes, technically it counts as a first read because changes were made. Is that correct?
No, we ordinances always have 2 readings, and we had the first reading 4 weeks ago. We didn't have a second reading because council decided to table the item 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we did the second read, but we just tabled it.
The clarification is 2 weeks ago, weren't all the ordinances read into the record at the onset of the public hearing?
No, we did not. We had the public hearing, and then the item was tabled.
Okay, so what Mr. Schubert is just clarifying is he has to read the ordinance number in the first sentence of each of the ordinances into the record officially. Is there any further action beyond that?
No, I don't think so. I'm looking to the legal counsel on this one.
Doing a second reading would put us in position to pass it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Proceed,
Well-
Mr. Schubert.
Sit back and enjoy. Okay, so this will be a second reading on all ordinances, starting with ordinance C-1071, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.05.020 entitled Zones Shown on Map, adopting the amending zoning map associated with the missing middle housing amendment, and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance number C-1072, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 12.19 entitled Transportation Impact Fees, and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance number C-1073, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 13.04 entitled Water System, and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1074, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 13.06 entitled Sanitary Sewer System, and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1075, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 14.11 entitled Water Concurrency, providing for other matters related thereto. Ordinance, second reading for ordinance C-1076, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code Title 16, entitled subdivisions and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1077, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.04 entitled definitions and providing for other matters related thereto. Excuse me. Second reading of ordinance C-1078, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.05 entitled Zone Classifications and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1080, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.07 entitled Manufactured Housing Residential Zone RM and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1081, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.08 entitled Duplex Residential Zone R2 and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1082, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.09 entitled Multiple Family Residential Zone R3 and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1083, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.15 entitled Airport Overlay Zone and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1084, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.17 entitled Planned Unit Development PUD Overlay Zone and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1085, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.21 entitled Off-Street Parking and Loading and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1086, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.22 entitled Landscaping and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1087, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.23 entitled Signs and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1088, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.24 entitled Accessory Dwelling Units and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1089, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.25 entitled Storage and Shipping Containers and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1090, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.26 entitled Zero Lot Line Development and providing for other matters related thereto. Second reading of ordinance C-1091, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.27 entitled Manufactured Home Parks and providing for other matters related thereto. And lastly, second reading of ordinance number C-1092, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code 17.38 entitled Essential Public Facilities and providing for other matters related thereto. And now we can celebrate.
Now you need a motion.
All right. All right, council, now do we have a motion to approve the set of ordinances
Move to approve the changes.
excluding the driveway width? It's been moved by Mr. Malay. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Morton. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion now passes 4-0. All right, and that'll move us to item H, the second reading of ordinance C-1093, amending the final budget for the year ending December 31st, 2025. Mr. Schubert.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. This is the second reading of ordinance number C-1093, an ordinance amending ordinance C-1039 passed by the City Council on December 2nd, 2024, and entitled an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, adopting the budget for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2025. This item was had the first reading 2 weeks ago and was presented to council at the last study session last week. There's no further amendments or corrections. If there's further questions that I can answer, available.
Any questions from council? Do I have a motion regarding ordinance C-1093?
Yeah, move to approve.
And moved by Mr. Malay. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Morton. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Next, item I, the second reading of ordinance C-1094, amending the positions, salaries, and compensation for employees of the city for the fiscal year 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. This is the second reading of ordinance number C-1094, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending ordinance C-1069, setting the positions, salaries, and compensation for appointed officers and employees of the City of Airway Heights for 2025 and providing for the effective date thereof. This item was introduced 2 weeks ago for the first read, presented to council for study session last week. It adds 2 positions that council approved previously. It's the payroll accountant and the code enforcement officer. Compliance officer, sorry. So if there's no further questions,
Any questions for council? All right, do I have a motion for ordinance C-1094? Been moved by Mr. Einiker. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Malay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And our last item on the agenda is the Arbor Day resolution. Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. This is resolution number 2025-011, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, proclaiming Friday, April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day for the City of Airway Heights and providing for other matters properly relating thereto.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Any questions from council? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve item J, Arbor Day resolution.
Been moved by Mr. Malay. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Morton. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, that moves us on to the end of our agenda. Now it's time for citizen comments. Are there any citizens who would like to address council, either in public or online? All right. Welcome, sir. Please state your name and address, and we'll limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Thank you. I won't be that long, I hope. My name is Jim Frank, and I'm with the group of housing developers and providers that have worked on the middle housing. And I just want to thank the council. I want to thank the Plan Commission, and I want to thank the staff for all the work that went into this. Months and months of effort went into this ordinance. It's complicated. You can just see from the number of ordinances you had to approve to get this done. And the details of it are really complicated, and sometimes small details make a big difference in how effective an ordinance can be. And, you know, there's 100 details, and we really agreed with 96 of them. And this ordinance is going to do a lot of good for the city of Airway Heights, and it's going to open up the door for a lot of new housing and a lot of what I call small houses on small lots. And we hope open up home ownership for a much larger range of our population. And when we have some, you know, differences of opinion on 3 or 4 items, that ends up taking front and center. And so you think that the only thing we're doing is arguing about 3 or 4 things, but I want you to know that wonderful, good effort went into this over months and months, and we agreed with almost all of it. That sometimes doesn't come across. And so we really appreciated the effort that staff made over the last couple of weeks to open up the door to some discussion about some compromises and concessions that could be made. And I feel like we've reached a really good solution. No one gets 100% of what they want, but I feel like that where we ended up is a really good ordinance. And so I want to thank everybody for the effort they put into that. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question real quick before you leave?
Sure.
If you're, this is a question about builders. If I presented a 6,000 square foot lot and as a builder, I said, you can build whatever you want, whatever structure you want on there. What would most builders put on that lot? If you gave them a choice, would they build
They're
the
going to
biggest, most expensive single family home they could muster? Or would they go up? You know, what would the tendency be for a builder?
If you're restricting someone to building on a 6,000 square foot lot, then they're going to build a big house. You know, because the land costs so much.
Right.
And you're going to try to get the best value you can out of the land. And so you're going to build a big house. And this is one of the complaints I've had about most of the ordinances that we've had, these what I'll call suburban type ordinances. They encourage people to build big houses on big lots. And what we need to do is we need to be able to build small houses on small lots. And that's what this ordinance you just passed, it enables that.
Yeah, I recognize
Yeah.
that, what
So,
we have
yes, it's-
accomplished here, but
Yeah.
I don't know much about builders per se, and you do. And I just was curious, you know, because it would seem to me that they'd want to put up a big house with a big price.
That's what happens. You're paying for a lot that's expensive. And you're trying to get the most value out of that you can. So you end up building a big house when you have a big lot. That's what happens.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Frank? Sure.
Hello, Council. My name is John Robbins. I've been a resident of Airway Heights for about 9, going on 10 years now, over on Russell Road. Glad I came in tonight to hear the interview process and some of the questions that you asked. Some of my comments and concerns are in regards to some of those questions. I know just in the last 9 years, this town has blown up. All kinds of stuff, lots of apartments and such. One of the big questions was getting people involved in inclusion and such. I know that one of the candidates expressed once they feel that it might have been misled by the council or whatever. The last time I was at a council meeting was to discuss the Northern Heights apartment complex. In that meeting, we asked, me and a couple of my neighbors on Chandler, asked the council and the developer that was here about the access at the end of Russell on H Street. That we were all told at that time that access was going to be strictly for emergency use only. And I don't know what happened, but that's not the case. That has increased the ADTs along Russell dramatically. Now we have another apartment complex back there, increasing the ADTs on Russell, the speeds on Russell. No speed limit signs came with the new development and the new apartments and the increased traffic. No real improvements to the pedestrian corridor came with that improvement. The developer in Northern Heights, at the time of that meeting, they were going to put lights all along the little trail that they built right there. There's no lights on that trail. That driveway access, those people treat it as their right of way. They think it's a city street. It's a driveway, and they don't yield to traffic. We have lots of speed, lots of children in that area. So I would like the council and the planning department to think more about that stuff and make developers responsible for what they're doing to the neighborhood, i.e. put up more pedestrian corridors, put up some speed limit signs. Council has talked about improving our facilities for pedestrians and vehicles and such. The new work that was done on Sixth Street, I used to ride my bike around the town a lot. It's real nice to ride. It's nice and flat here. I don't feel comfortable on Sixth Street anymore because you put in that big island. Now there's no place for me on my bike unless I want to get on the sidewalk and compete with the pedestrians. When what you should have done is put that road on a road diet, some striping, could have striped a bike lane, whatever. Would have been a lot more cost effective and it would have been a whole lot safer than what it is right now. So I hope as that project continues down the street, that maybe that is thought about because it's not safe. It's not friendly anymore. It used to be very safe and very friendly through there. I'm glad I don't live on that street because now I don't know how many of those people are going to get in and out of their driveways if they have a trailer or a motorhome or anything like that. I don't recall any notification to the public about the planning behind that. I work for the Department of Transportation, so I was aware of what was going on 10th Street. Had no clue of what's going on 6th Street. I'm very aware of what we're gonna have when it's all done with Craig Road. 8, 9 roundabouts through town to improve safety and reduce the speed. That ain't gonna do it. I mean, we have new officers coming on. The thing that's gonna help with safety and the speed through our corridor on Highway 2 is enforcement. Writing tickets, because you see people right at Hicks Hardware, giant 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, they're accelerating. I hear, nice and flat, you hear the guys driving on their motorcycles and the cars. They're using the roundabouts right now, it sounds like, as a turnaround for racing. You hear them go boogie on down, and then they go rip through the roundabout and then come flying back the other way. Enforcement is what's going to help with that. You put all the roundabouts in the world, some people are going to think they're fun and they're not going to slow down at all. I think that developers need to be held more accountable for how they impact our community. They should be footing some of the bill for how they impact our community instead of me as a taxpayer having to pay so that they can make money with their new development when they don't support us as citizens. There's a lot more things. I'm not good at speaking in public. I'm glad I came. I'll come again. The inclusion thing, you gotta let people know and listen to their words. And when you tell them that an access is going to be emergency only, make sure that it's emergency only. Don't let developers run the show. I know, yeah, they're taxpayers or whatever, but there's a lot more of us citizens paying taxes than there are developers that are paying taxes. You know, I've seen in the last 9 years, services go down. 5th of July, street sweepers used to sweep their streets. That doesn't happen anymore.
Sorry, is it Mr. Roberts?
Robbins.
Sorry, Mr. Robbins. We really appreciate your comments. It's your 5-minute time limit has been reached, and we encourage you to come to study sessions and reach out to city staff with concerns. And there's a lot of issues addressed, and
I'll be back.
we appreciate it. We're always looking for feedback. Any comments from council or staff on? No workshops tonight. No call for executive session. All right, in that case, we will move to adjourn at 7:39 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Something, Heather? No?
If you hear something like that, you know, give me a signal and we'll roll away. I just couldn't read out outside, like downstairs. I'm just making sure. That's why I was kind of like looking at you like, it was just, she got it. Thank you. There's some options, but.
They didn't take it. They didn't take it.
Well, I'll take a copy.